All right, so yes.
If two people on different sessions start editing the same module list, would the module list change like according to each person's changes on each other's machines, or?
Well, it depends what you mean by something being shared or not, right? In our particular case, we're only going to use the session to know that it's you, right? To distinguish one person from another having logged in. And we would need a separate mechanism to know that we are sharing some data model, right? In this particular case, maybe we are two authors that are bound to the same course, right? And so that would be a completely different set of Java or Node.js services that would know that the ID of this person 321 and the ID of this other person 123, they're both bound to the same course, and they can both view and edit the same course. So that would be a completely different set of business logic that would know who are the users associated. And the only thing that we're going to be using here is to determine that indeed it's you, and we're going to remember that on the server so that we don't have to expose that information on the client. We could have exposed it, right? We don't even need a session, right? If we don't really care about privacy, right? And then the model, the logic would still be the same, right? Somehow I need to know that it's you. Sometimes I need to know the two different users or the two different faculty, or the 10 different students that are in the same session, for instance, right? Section in the same section. That is a separate logic, right? Of knowing who's related to who, right? And what can they do collaboratively in a shared content. But here we're only using it so that we're not exposing some of the privacy. Otherwise, I guess I could pass for you the username and password every single time, and you would find me every single time and maintain that session state information on the client. You could do that, right? But instead, what we want to do is delegate this to the server. So we've already installed Express Session. We've already installed Body Parser, so we can keep going. What we're going to do here is that we're going to create a new service, a user service, right? That's going to allow us to log in, register, log out, or get a current profile, to know who's currently logged in. Okay. So what we'll do is that we'll create a service, right? A service that is hosting these endpoints. So let's do that. Right. So we'll create on the server side. We're going to create a service here. We'll call it the user service. So this will be user.service.server.js. And again, it's going to be a module. So this will be module.exports equal to function in the app here. And in here, we're going to do, we're going to start first with, say, register. Right? Let's see. Okay, let's do register first so that we can actually add somebody. Right? So let's do that. So app register is going to be mapped. It's going to be post, and there's going to be /API/register, I believe. Is that what we mapped it to? Yeah, register. And this is going to be mapped to a function called register. So register is right here. So function register. It takes the request and response. Okay, and presumably the register, we're going to submit it from some form. We're going to submit the username and password, and we're going to pass that through the body here. So presumably we're going to fetch the username and password from the body, username and password. So this will be a constant username, and this will be request.body.username. So in the body, we're going to have a username field, and then the password from the request body, and password. And what we're going to like to be able to do is create a local variable here called new user, maybe var or const new user, and this will be this will be a JSON object with username and password. I guess we could have just done this, right? I guess we could have done this. There we go. There we go. Okay, there's our new user. I guess we didn't really need this. What I like to be able to do is maybe go and fetch to see if that username is already existing, right? Maybe is it somewhere in some array? So this one is using a promise. So it might be that it's going out to some database which we don't have just yet. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to have a mock version of some users. So let's create a couple users here. So we're going to say this is going to be a JSON file. This is going to be user mock JSON, and it's going to be an array of users. So it's going to have maybe this is going to be username. This is going to be Alice, and password also Alice. And here's Bob, maybe. And Charlie. Okay, so we have 3 users, and our user service is just going to load it here. So we're going to say const, no, actually let users here, and this will be this will be something like require, and it's going to go up and then down to data, and then users mock. There we go. So my register probably is going to have this brand new user. It's just going to add it right to my array of users, right? So let's do that. So this is going to be a users push and my new user. There we go. Right? And it's going to return. Actually, no, it's not going to return anything, but it's going to add it to the user. And so this is my little database, right? My users array right now is my little database. I don't have a database just yet. We'll have to wait until we have Mongo to do that. What I'd like to be able to do is that when I log in, right? Well, I'd like to be able to see if that user exists in my database of users. If it does, I like to mark this user as my current user, my current logged in user. Yes? So that if you try and fetch, say, the profile, right? If nobody has logged in yet, there's no profile for me to give you, right? Okay. We would like to be able to see if it's somebody's logged in, right? We would actually return the profile of the person who's currently logged in. Make sense? All right. All right. So register is just going to add us to the array. Just going to add us to the array. Login. It's going to try and find the user by credentials, right? So let's do that. So what we're going to do for now, I'm just going to return. I'm going to just to see if this actually works. I'm just going to send back the users. I'm just going to send back the list of users, right, to see if indeed is being added to the array, right? Okay, so let's do that. Let's restart the server. Actually, no. Before we do that, we'll need to include it here, right? We'll need to include the user service. User service, there it is. And now we can start it. We'll start it. One of the challenges here is that this user service, the register, it's actually listening to a post. There's no way for us to generate a post from the browser, right? So instead, we're going to have to use Postman to do this, right? So let's bring up Postman. Oh, I thought I have post application from, no, that one. This is the native application. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Do I have a webdev? There it is. So there's a webdev here. I'm going to bring it at the top and remove these here. So we have that. Excellent. So let's try it out and register. I think we have a register here that we were playing around with, way back when, or in our Java world. And let's see. We have headers. It's content type application, body, we have username and password po. All right? All right, so let's see that. So let's send it over and send it. And let's see what we get back from the server. Apparently, we didn't get a response. Why did we not get a response? I'm sorry? 8080? Oh! Okay. I hate computers. They're so literal. They take everything so literal. They always do exactly what they're told. All right, there it is, right? So it went out. And there's Alice, there's Bob, there's Charlie, right? And there's Poe. Right, so it is working. We are able to send that over. It's being obviously we would not respond with this, right? We would not make this available outside of the server, obviously. But at least we know that it's in the session, right? I'm not in the session. It's in the database, right? In our database. Now we can start playing around with login, for instance, right? Login would find our username and password in the database and then add us to be the currently logged in users, right? So let's try out now a login. Also post. The reason we're using post, right, is that we can if it's a post, we can encode any content that we send from the client, through SSL, right? We can encrypt everything that we send over to the server so that any of our passwords would not be passing in clear text on its way to the server. Right, so that's why we're using post, even though we don't really need post. So there's our login, and what we're going to do in the login, right? In the login, we're going to request response. We're going to get a hold of the username and password from the body. There it is. So let's go fetch that. So this is equal, and there is our password, right? So we're just going to go find to see if the user exists, right, in our database. So we'll say var, we'll say const the actual user if we did find it. We can say users dot find, and this will be the user, and we're only going to return if the user dot username is equal to the username we're looking for, and the user dot password is also equal to the password we're looking for. Right? And for now, we just to see if this works. Ooh, what's going on here? Oh, we don't need the return. The return is implicit. Right, the return is implicit. We're using ES6. And password. There we go. So we're going to just respond. We're going to send back the user. We send back the user. Now this send here, that send function is a pretty smart function. That send function knows depending on what you're sending back, it knows what MIME types to use. For instance, if it's a string, it just returns the MIME type is text. If the string is formatted as an HTML, the MIME type is text HTML. Right? If it's JSON, then the MIME type is application JSON. So it's a pretty smart send function. If you know that your content is indeed JSON, right, a better option is to use a .json function. Right? This will only use the MIME type JSON, application JSON, and it doesn't have to go through the overhead of trying to figure out what it is. Right? So it only accepts JSON. Okay? So let's try the login, see if that works. All right, so let's go back here and let's the login is 3000, and the login we're going to pass in the body po. We know po is not in the current database, right? Also because we restarted the server, po should not be there. So if we send po, this comes back with nothing, but hopefully Alice will be there. Let's see if we send. Notice that Alice does come back, right? So it is finding it. It is returning the correct user. And what we can do on the server, right now that we know that the user is there, what we can do is just say that we can since we're using cookies, we know that there's a request session in there. Right? We can say that the request.session, we can say that the current user right? The current user, actually no, sorry. This is a map. Session current user is equal to that user. The user actually will be either null, right, or it'll be an actual object that we can put in there. Make sense, right? And then just request dot send status 200. We're going to say just yeah, everything's okay. You were able to log in, right? Or right if the user is null, maybe we send a 404 or something. If the user doesn't exist, we'll send maybe a 403, right? Meaning that no, you weren't able to log in, you don't have access. So we'll send maybe an error with the if we do find the user, we're just going to send this 200 saying, yep, you're good, you're logged in, but we're not actually going to send any data back. Okay. If we are successful, what we'd like to be able to do is to fetch for profile, right? Right. If we are logged in, we'd like to be able to return some information about the currently logged in user, right? If there's nobody logged in, this profile should fail, right? Maybe to return a 4 or 3 or something like that, right? So a profile might allow me to do something like function profile with a request and the response, and check to see if there is a user, right? So we can do a const, we can return the user from the current session, the current user, right? And we can check to see if if a user, meaning if it's not null, if it's truthy or whatnot, then we can return. Maybe we can response. We can send back maybe the username, user.username. Right. Otherwise, else, then maybe we can do a response send status, 4 or 3. Right. Meaning, nope, there is nobody logged in. You don't have access to the profile. Right. So let's restart that. So let's log in as Alice. Oops. Let's see what happened here. Request send status is not a function. I guess it's not send status. Maybe can I just send 200? I don't remember how to send the status. No, that's not it either. Oh, request. Oh, this is response. Oh, I doubly hate computers. Send. Okay, so maybe it is status then. Status. Let's try that. Okay, I return an okay, right? So the status is okay, and the profile. Let's duplicate this and implement. This will be profile, and this is profile. And the profile, we're going to do a post. We don't really care what we're sending in the body. We can just go fetch the profile. And notice that it returns Alice, right? Because we know that the currently logged in person is Alice. If instead we register as if we register, where is the body? It was register as Ed. Right, we register as Ed. I don't think it liked that. What's going on? Cookies body. Oh, there it is. Okay, Ed is there. And if I log in now as Ed, and Ed, we log in, we get an OK, and I go to profile. Notice it comes back with Ed. So it remembers from one time to the next who's currently logged in. Notice that we haven't exposed any information to the client. All that is managed on the server, so that we can remember who's currently logged in. Right. And finally, we might want to log out. Right. So that at some point we either times out on its own or we explicitly log out. And to log out, it's basically using session.destroy. Right. Just clears out it makes the cookie invalid, right? So that if it ever sees that cookie again, even if it's it hasn't timed out yet, right? It invalidates it so that if it sees it again, it'll ignore it and will consider to be a 4-3. Okay?